Welcome, welcome, welcome. Dr. Jason Dean, bravetv, your source for health, freedom, and knowledge. It is crazy time right now. My phone is insane. Jeez. Give me a moment. Everything is going crazy. Complete chaos. Starlink satellites are falling out of the sky. Hold on. Hold on. Give me a second. I can't make this shit up. Hold on. As all of you know, complete insanity at this moment, this morning. You name it. Satellites are Starlink's down. And then I have I'm gonna bring a guest in right now because we're just gonna have fun with this and try to figure all of it out. And I'm bringing somebody on right now who I guess I probably messed up. My scheduling has been screwed up. Sorry. This day was totally planned to go one way, and it has been flipped upside down. Part of it, I need a haircut. This is not normal for me. Everyone's like, oh, your hair looks great long. No, it doesn't, because there's a bald spot in the back. Complete and utter insanity at this moment. And I'm going to bring somebody on who was on my schedule, but it somehow fell off. And we're going to do a longer show today, apparently, because I'm going to bring her on. I'm going to bring her on, and we're going to chat a little, because why not? Over 358 Starlink satellites have fallen out of the sky. I think that's, have they fallen out of the sky? I'm getting texts right now from a source. This is the actual message. Lots of red on the satellite status. I think I saw 300 Starlink splashing down land or sea. I gotta restart something here. Trying to bring somebody in. It's not working. Yeah, I have right now. Sorry guys, this was not how the show was supposed to go today. 300 plus, good God, Starlink satellites have crashed on land or have crashed in sea. That's what I have right now. My guest is trying to join. Let's see here. Sorry. We also have a delta on a Q drop for today. I'm trying to get my guest in here. My guest is so awesome too. My phone has been going nuts the last like hour. Oh, there she is. Now she came up. Great. Oh my goodness. Hey, this is live television, as they say, live streaming. Sarah Westall.
Hi. I don't know why it wasn't showing up. I just tried. I connected a
It fell
couple
off my
times.
calendar too. So today it's a. Don't mind me if I use language because today's crazy. This is a shit show, Sarah. Like not the show. What's happening right? Do you know what's happening right now?
No, what's happening? Well,
Okay.
there's a lot happening, but what's specifically happening?
So let's have some fun. Ready? You know about the stuff that happened overnight with all the networks going down, right? Have you seen this?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I haven't been following because I've just been working this morning, but keep going.
Okay, so I have an open source guy behind the scenes that gives me information, and he sends me actual like receipts and websites to go to. This is all being planned, and right now 358 Starlink satellites have supposedly fallen out of the sky and either falling in the water or falling on land.
Wow.
And he has the websites to show me that like they're off the
Wow.
line, they're off lines.
Really? Because I use Starlink, so I'm up on Starlink right now. So maybe that
Has
was why I was.
yours been okay?
I haven't noticed anything. I was just working, watching some interviews this morning. Now I'm hearing about all this. No, I mean, yeah, it seems okay.
Okay, that's good. I don't know. Yeah, this is all just happening in a lot. My phone started blowing up in the last like hour from some people, and of course from last night. This also hit Main Street. Not I don't know if the Starlink has hit Main Street yet, but Fox was running the cellular outages this morning. I was like, real? This went mainstream. That means there's something going on here.
Wow. I have to dig into it. I don't know because I haven't been digging into it. I wish I did. Wish I would have known before I got on, and then I could have
No,
given
it's
you
all
this
right. It's all
great
right. It's all right.
report.
It's all right. How is Sarah Westall?
I'm doing good. I'm more interested in that. What's happening? If 350, I know that would be a big part of their network because they have what 2,000 satellites up. So 350 is a little more than 10%, 15% of all of their satellites going down. And I know that Starlink is the satellite system for Ukraine and how they communicate. Is it all over the United States, or is it the Ukraine situation, or what?
I'm getting so far just in general over the U.S. So
It's a United States thing.
I think so. There's actually so he's actually sending me a site right now that says the Starlink satellite map, which I can bring up in a little bit, will show the red dots. Zoom in to see their splash area.
Really? Like where they landed in the ocean and stuff.
Yeah, apparently.
What a costly event. Like what? That's an attack. No, that's an attack that's a big attack. So it'll be very interesting. This is a major event.
I think, well, he says they're gearing us up for what's called an awakening event. Here's the actual. So here is.
I got to get my seeing glasses.
Your seeing glasses.
Like.
So it actually, if I click on one, so there's a ground station, St. John's, Newfoundland Development, California map link, antennas, So this is the first time I'm using this, so bear with me, and I apologize if. So there's the U.S. All the red is either, I guess, downed. That's a lot of U.S. right there. And I don't know how to zoom into this thing yet. So I just got this 10 minutes ago, maybe. That's a lot of the U.S. South America's. So Europe is down.
It says total blackout 1%.
Yep.
Most reported problems 76% of the internet, 23 total blackout. Wait. Most reported problems are 76%. Let me see. I'm going to click on this. What the heck? Huge Starlink outages right now, starting at 8 a.m.
This is crazy.
63%. Okay, here's the most reported. 63% are the internet. Total blackout are 28%. 9% have poor reception. They have a live outage report. The places that are getting hit the worst are Dallas.
This is for are you running your app for your Starlink?
I'm in downdetector.com.
Okay, you're in Down Detector, so that's also showing it.
Yeah. Let's see what they say here. Oh, this is a website. Top 10 global reported outages on Oh no, that's
so all these all these red dots, and let me see. Hopefully, yeah, I think everyone can see this. They're small, but people can see the red probably highlighting a little bit on the map. Means that there's no signal or down signal, which is basically all of America at this point. I mean, or at least I should say, well, half of America. There's some white ones in there that are working too. Are you in the eastern or western part of the state or country?
I'm in the Minneapolis area, and there's
central.
No red really. We're not. It looks like Dallas, and let me see here. We got to get United States. I want to see what city that is, because they're not telling me the cities. They're just showing me a point on the United States.
There's one down in Michigan. I'm looking to try. I don't know your Minnesota area well. So Minnesota, Marcel, Minnesota. There's 8 antenna count down. When I say down, it just means signals down. I can't say that it's like it fell out of the sky.
Yeah.
But there's Marcel, Minnesota. And again, I don't know how it works well enough from a standpoint of like what you're connected to, or maybe they link up. So that's crazy.
It looks like Kansas, or is it Nebraska? I'm trying to figure out what state that is. It looks like Kansas is the other place. So Dallas and Kansas are the heaviest hit. Okay. And then also, based on this map, they're not saying the city, and so I have to just approximate where these red dots are. And then it looks like, God, is that Illinois? It looks like Illinois. It looks like Chicago. It looks like Chicago, but it doesn't look like it's right over Kansas. It doesn't look like a big city in Kansas.
Okay, now I have it zoomed in. So Minnesota.
What do you have?
This is called satellite map.space.
Well, I can share this screen if you want to see the map.
Are you on Down Detector?
Yeah, go to Down Detector and look at where the red. That's where the congregation of outages are. The yellow is outages too, but it's like they're attacking certain cities, which is Dallas, someplace in Kansas, and Chicago.
Okay. So tons of it recently.
Yeah, but if you click on the map, go down.
This right here,
click on that map. Yeah. And then it shows you where. Okay, see the 3 red dots?
Yep.
It looks like that is, I'm guessing that's Chicago.
Chicago? Is that
Dallas?
What's that middle one? I don't know.
The middle one, it's someplace in Kansas, and it's not over. It looks like it's Kansas, and it doesn't look like it's over Topeka or any of the bigger cities. So I don't know. Maybe there's a military base there or something.
Interesting. What a mess.
Yeah, I know. Holy buckets. Wow. Okay. I'm going to see military base in Kansas. I wouldn't be surprised. Let's see
Unreal.
here. It
Now,
is absolutely. I mean, Kansas has some pretty hardcore bases there. I mean, it's not, that's what I think it's a targeted. It would be there. What base is this? The Kansas, what's the orange base? There's a base there, right where that spot is. There's three
um,
military bases in Kansas. Navy, Marines, Coast Guard do not have bases, but
okay,
which one
you want to
do?
hear some crazy stuff?
Yeah, well, that's where a base is, right where that red dot is a base in Kansas. That's right over it.
This was the text that I was sent. You ready?
Okay, yeah.
Uh, Global Sentinel 2024. Outage is not an attack. Interoperability exercise. This is Space Force doing the Nothing Can Stop What Is Coming, or NCSWIC SAFECOM. And then it says, link explains the entire month of February for this crap. Your cell will drop, but my wife on the same plan. Preparing the population for prolonged outages, disaster recovery across networks, etc.
That's BS. I mean, they're doing an
And that's from
outage test.
that's from
Why are they doing it now at
that's
what?
from internal military right now. That's open source
But
military.
but why would they do it at 11:20 or 11 o'clock in the morning versus at 3 a.m.? I mean, usually you do planned outages in the middle of the night to do testing. They're doing it in the middle of the day in a work day in Dallas and Chicago, and then over a military base in Kansas.
It's a good question.
You know what I mean?
No,
What the
totally.
heck is that? I don't ever trust the official narrative. Do you? I mean, come on.
No, I question everything now. I question everything. I just like you and I talked before on your show and behind the scenes. I question all of existence at this point.
I mean, really? I'm okay. That's what they're saying. Do we all buy that? No. What's really going on? I don't know.
How is Sarah Westall?
I'm doing good. I just
Yeah.
learned a lot this morning. My gosh. I had some pretty intense conversations and I was doing some stuff and I was all ready. And then all of a sudden you throw this on me. It's like, whoa. Yeah.
Well, the funny part was you text me and you're like, we're due today. And I'm like, why is this not on the calendar? I remember putting that specifically on the calendar because when you text me, like you're on my priority list, like it goes right on. And I'm like, why is that not there? But the good part is I had today like basically open for stuff. And then this all falls apart. So for the last hour, my phone's been blowing up with this plus fires to put out and everything else. So you're like, hey, come on. I'm like, you know what? Sarah's a calming wind. Let's bring Sarah in. Let's have some fun with and I'm usually always live, so it's really fun, and a ton of viewers come on because I said this about last year to my team behind the scenes. I said, you know what feels like's happening? It feels like, so 2020 happened and it was chaos, right? And all these people start waking up dramatically, like, this seems weird. What is going on? This is like, why would we shut down everything? And so a whole bunch of people come in, all these shows start blowing up, like your show, my show, other people's shows start blowing up because people are looking for logical people who have a little bit of input and a little bit of insight, but also are still trying to figure out what's happening. And then what happens is it gets quiet going into 2023 and then 2024 because people are like comfortable, but at the same time, like they don't want to be afraid anymore. So they go back to their comforts. The Super Bowl is like the most watched thing in the world again because everyone's going back to the bread and, the Roman circus. But then I said, I feel like 2020 is going to happen all over again, but in 2024. And people are going to surge in again because chaos is going to go down. And I feel like that's occurring. Does that make sense?
And I think so. I was around, as you know, I started this in 2013.
Okay.
So I've been
You started before I did. You started before I started 2016.
Oh, 26. Okay. So just a few years before you, right? And I was kicked off in 2019 with that whole group of people that were kicked off YouTube. I had 130,000 followers or something. And, now that, back then it was quite a bit of followers. Now it's not as many, right? Everything's grown so exponentially. But we were, back in the day when they kicked us all off, we had more views. I had more views personally than a lot of the CNN shows, right? I mean, collectively we were bigger than all of the mass media. And so they just kicked us off all at once. And then I was kicked off the same day Donald Trump was off of Twitter. I mean, it was terrible. But then the COVID thing happened, the election stuff happened, and so I didn't really lose my base because people, that surge that you're talking about allowed me to just maintain, if that
Sure.
makes sense.
Yeah.
And then you're right, there was kind of a quiet period here, and I'm sensing that too, where people are looking for, but they're looking for common sense voices and voices
Totally.
that aren't so out there. I mean, I'm kind of out there on some of the stuff that I do, I'm going to admit, but I try to do it in a way that's kind of like you. I just want facts. I want information. I try to do it with a journalistic integrity, right? Because the overtone window has shifted. The overtone window has to shift because everything is really different than what people are seeing. And so even what I'm accepting as the overtone window, or what you are, is probably still not far enough. I mean, being honest, because we're still trying to grapple with, oh my gosh, what are they actually doing, and what are they capable of doing? And it's an ongoing process of figuring out, we're trying to stay ahead of the curve is what we're trying to do, and try to inform people and give, because you're not going to get it from the mainstream. You're just not going to get it from them, period, end of story. They're too controlled. And I started learning that back before COVID. Like, I was covering human trafficking, and then there would be local channels here that when I would cover a big story, they would counteract that and put out false information. And it's like, wow, I can't believe they're actually saying this about what we just reported, because we know the facts. We know they're lying. And so that was an awakening process for me, is when I watched the mass media purposely do disinformation stories to counteract our true investigations. And when you see it firsthand, that just, it changes you, right? It really changes your worldview. And what happened, I think, in COVID is more people saw that. More people are seeing that now. Like, their own personal experience does not line up with what they're being told. And that's what shakes their confidence and trust in the system. And all these politicians, all these people are saying we got to get trust in our institutions. Well, if you want trust in your institutions, stop lying to people, right? I mean, people are going to believe what they experience over what you're telling them. And so I think that's what's happening. So I agree with you, because we're all kind of waiting on what is their next big play. But, with the FDA new ruling and the WHO treaty, heard the FDA. I sent you that, I think, an article that, I don't know if you've talked about it, but the informed consent, they removed informed consent for things that they deem as safe and effective, which we all know that's all BS, because they deem all these things safe and effective that aren't, right? The jab is safe and effective. So they're setting up, it's kind of like the PrEP Act back in 2016. Yeah. The PrEP Act was set up to allow them to do what they did during COVID, right? Where endless money, because the PrEP Act in 2016 allowed them to have an endless budget to deal with any kind of pandemic. And they got rid of and established all these rules. Well, that's what they're doing with the WHO treaty and the FDA thing. And now other things they're doing, they're establishing the things they need to do their next operation. And there's so much in place right now. So we're all waiting. Well, when are they going to pull the trigger? It's kind of, and I think they're pulling little triggers all over the place is what's happening.
100%. It's actually funny you brought up PrEP Act. Because I was looking through the Influenza Modernization Executive Order as well as Warp Speed, and they used a company or an organization called BARDA, which is Biomedical Authorization, some sort of basically a HHS style NIH government organization. And so when you said PrEP, I was like, wait a second. So I just Googled PrEP and BARDA. Sure enough, it's right in there.
Act. The PrEP Act is
PrEP Act is it. So BARDA has overreaching authorization with grant money from both government as well as private organizations like the Gates Foundation to literally create the evolution of the vaccine agenda.
Yep. And that's why they called it that's legislation. They actually called it for what it was, the PrEP Act. PrEP. Usually they don't do that. It's the opposite. It's like, I don't know, something about protecting you, Citizens Protection Act or something, and it's the opposite. It's usually the opposite. This one, it was actually what it was.
Total chaos. I'm looking at all your videos now. Yeah. So by the way, I have outed you behind the scenes to all my friends as one of the rare people. Sarah's one of the rare people that probably talks like I do. I mean, like your show, whenever I look, I'm like, I need some guests. I need somebody deeper, somebody. Let me go see what Sarah's doing. Sarah talks about some of the stuff I talk about. There's not a lot of people like us who talk about the stuff we talk about. I mean, you have Illuminati goals, you have you have Paul Wallace, by the way. One of my favorite people.
He's awesome. Oh God, he's so awesome. The guy is genuine. You can tell he's just the real deal.
I love that stuff. Love that stuff.
I do too, because it's people who are smart, who have integrity, who are well-meaning, trying to figure things out. And those are the type of people I want on my show. I don't need the bombastic people. I mean, obviously we're all getting some of them because we just don't know, right?
Sure.
But what I really am looking for are deep people, people who are really trying to figure it out, who have integrity and who are good people. That's the kind of people I want to talk to, because that's what we need. And it's confusing and it's chaotic, and there's enough grifters out there, right? I mean, come on, there's a lot of grifters, and if we really want to figure this out, we got to weed through some of that or all of that. It's hard. It's not easy.
I fully understand. Your discernment level has to be extremely high. Sarah, I don't know about you, but I mean, I try not to read a lot of the comments because I don't want to go into all the negativity with people. But I look sometimes at the comments, either Rumble or wherever in social media, and there is so much ridiculous hopium out there that, and the things that people buy into, Sarah, like, do you sometimes go, how are you thinking that way?
Well, it's kind of just like you were just shocked that people can believe the obvious propaganda that the state's putting out. We're shocked that they can believe the obvious propaganda that the state's putting out, as if they are independent journalists and, podcasters. It's the same sources, I think. I mean, some of it, depending on what side they're on, but they're all the same sources, meaning there's some state doing it, right? It's an organized psyop from a lot of these things. Although is another group which are just grifters, kind of like the Phil Godlewski guy. You saw that, right? Wow.
I saw that a long time ago. When Nicolette, my assistant producer in the back, she's really good legal mind, so she found out about him like a year ago, but she's like, I'm not putting this out there. I don't need any legal trouble myself. So when it came out like in the last few months, I mean, yeah, it's bad.
Well, I never follow. I'm like, there's just something not right with this guy. And I had a couple people that would send me stuff. I'm like, okay, this is interesting, and there's probably some truth to this, but I don't know what I think about this guy. I tried to be nice to people when I said that. I don't like to talk bad about, but my gosh, the guy was, I don't know if people have seen it, but the things that he did, a live intel operation on a podcast as if he's part of this intel operation, and people actually bought it. Like, as if he's going to do some kind of, as if you're going to do an undercover intel operation live. I mean, it's just undercover live. So
you mean that doesn't pass your spell test?
Doesn't get close to even getting to. I didn't even have to do a smell test. It was so obvious. So, but people believed that. And those are the people that supposedly were aware of the COVID thing. So I think that the people who believe that were just happened to be the ones who followed those who were outing this stuff. And so they just followed their crowd. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So it's kind of like the Gaza and the Israel thing, all the media, especially on the right, is just fully on board with protecting Israel needs to defend itself when against what? Against a bunch of children and moms in tents? I mean, that's kind of it's. I know it's more complicated than that, but the point is that they believe it's almost like they're hurt. They're easily both sides are easily hurted, is what my point is.
Sure.
And we have to be very careful what it is that they're manipulating us over, right? And it's hard when you see the opposite side. You know, we were kind of pigeonholed as far right nut jobs, and now I'm kind of being kind of being pushed out of that far right thing into like, well, why are you following the left? You know, I'm not following anybody. I'm trying to understand what's going on, and I'm trying to be objective and analyzing what the real truth is. And what I'm noticing is that people are sheep on both sides, on all sides. And we just can't allow ourselves to be that way, right? Aren't you seeing that too? It just seems it's all over.
100%. Well, I mean, the way we've been looking at it is they're pushing from one matrix to another. So, for example, I don't know if you've watched any of this, but and we've talked behind the scenes like natural health care and kind of where we've even talked frequencies and all the good stuff, right? So now, and I truly believe there is an absolute subversion of the healthcare matrix coming. It's already happening where there are medical doctors out there who are, and there's influencers too, who are pushing an agenda to keep people in pharma world, but do it in a light, nice way so that it's not like, well, we're mad at them for the vaccines, but don't forget there's a bunch of these medications out there that people can do and take to handle any of this other this upcoming stuff. What's really happening, and even, you know, I'll mention the name because I've said it before, but like the Brett Weinsteins of the world, right? So now he's mass media out there, Alex Jones, Tucker, all these different places, right? This is a guy that if you go back and look at the video, he put a handkerchief over his face in his own home because he wanted to be really cautious of everything in his environment. And if someone came to the door or Amazon or whatever, and then he also said, I don't think the lockdowns were harsh enough. They should have shut everything down. Now he's coming out as if the knight in shining armor, whatever you call it, and saying, well, now that we've learned what's really occurred and how bad this vaccine was, we need to change our way. I'm like, wait a second. 2020, when this was all going down, the Sarah Westalls of the world, the chiropractors, the naturopaths of the world, we were the ones out there not only saying this is BS, but saying, hey, they're probably going to come out with a vaccine that I don't think I would take. Lockdowns are ridiculous. This is literally, they're mowing over all of us to push this new matrix agenda. Does that make sense?
That's exactly what they're doing. And I wrote a little article about it saying, if these people did not have the discernment and the understanding to lead us out of that, what makes you think they have the discernment and understanding to lead us out of anything? If anybody that were not capable of understanding what was going on then, why would they be capable going forward? And I do think there's a bigger operation going on, yes, because they're being pushed where we're still being suppressed. Those are safe people to be pushed, right? I mean, it's so obvious. It's so obvious. But 100%. I actually think that Tucker Carlson is part of that. I think he's putting out a lot of really good information. And in fact, I just watched a show with Mike Benz. I really liked that interview. I thought it was great. It was on how they're doing the censorship. I recommend everybody watching that one. But past behavior is the best indicator of future behavior. And Tucker Carlson was a Trojan horse before. Mm-hmm. Is he going to be a Trojan horse going forward? Putin pretty much outed him, saying you're CIA. He didn't, I mean, come on. It was as close to saying you're CIA as you can get without saying you're CIA, right? And then the following week he did a talk at the World Government Summit where 70 people talked. That is the sister organization of the World Economic Forum, where all the leaders of different governments
I saw that.
Talk.
And that was that didn't hit even the social media news as well as, like, I saw it a couple times, but it wasn't blown up that I saw. And I'm like, why is he at a world organization meeting?
I'm sorry, but somebody who's pushing back hard against the establishment's not going to be asked to be a speaker at the World Government Summit. Period. End of story. That does not happen. I don't care what anybody says. That's not happening.
You're too logical.
So, right? I mean, you have to be really naive to believe that somebody, we're not going to be invited there unless things really change politically, unless the people who implemented COVID, the people who are implementing these WHO treaties, the people who are behind the wars in Ukraine and all these things, unless those people change, the people actually are no longer in positions of power, then maybe I would believe it. But not now. They're just not going to give somebody like that a platform, right? I mean,
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
And I think he also has an Assange interview up his sleeve, which has not been released yet.
Well, that would actually be very interesting. See, they're putting him up as the hero of the people, and he's doing good. It's good stuff.
Sure.
Some of the stuff is really good, but we have to have our discernment here, because what happens is that's what spies do or whatever. It's at the times that are important that they put the knife in your back. You have to be careful, because like I said, past behavior is the best indicator of future. Weinstein, whatever his name, Brett, his past behavior showed that he's an idiot. I mean, he had no discernment, or he was a propagandist, right? He was part of it. And so why would we listen to him now? I mean, we have to understand that, again, past behavior is the best indicator of future behavior. Did Tucker Carlson really get this change of heart? His father was the head of the CIA propaganda Voice of America group, and then he was put in place back when he was. How many people get plum positions at top networks coming out of college? I mean, who gets that?
Do you recall Tucker Carlson being mentioned heavily many years ago in the Comet Pizza situation?
Yeah, he was a VIP at Comet Pizza. How are you a VIP there and with all your intelligence ties and with all of your information, and not know more about that situation? It's impossible. And why are you a VIP? I mean, why are all these people a VIP at a pizza place? You know, it's like,
I was listening to him. So a couple months ago, there's a podcast called the All In Podcast. It's like a tech podcast, and it's very popular. And I listened to it because there's kind of like, there's an old Facebook CEO, or like there's a couple liberals and a couple conservatives kind of thing, and they're mixed opinions. So I listened to it. Plus, there's a lot of tech stuff about AI. Actually. And they brought Tucker on. And then I listened to Tucker on Roseanne right after that. And I listened to this all in a weekend, right? A few hours listening. And a couple times he said something that drives me up a wall. Like, Sarah, if you told me, you were like, you know, I'm not really the smartest person in the world, but whatever. As soon as someone says that, I get a little weird, right? Because Sarah Westall is a very smart individual. Like, I watch your stuff. You ask really good questions. I know you're a business person. You're a very intelligent individual. So Tucker Carlson in his interview says, I'm not really a smart person. I just do some reading and I'm like, you're so full of crap. Like, you're not just a journalist. You don't just ask questions. To know what you know and to speak what you're speaking on, you have a very vast background of what you're talking about, right, or you would not be in the spots you're in. Does that make sense?
That's exactly right.
Like
that's my point. You don't get to those positions without having. There's a lot more to them than what people are seeing.
Right. A guy who just reads a little bit doesn't end up in the Kremlin talking to Vladimir Putin.
That's right. And I don't believe just a journalist does either.
No.
I don't believe somebody who is fighting the establishment and then the next week is at the World Government Summit. I mean, really? That doesn't happen. That's not how it works. But I think people are buying into it. They also think Elon Musk is the hero. You know, I
Do you think so? Here's the question. I was told this the other day. So I don't remember who it was. They said they think that Trump got his hands on Elon and made him flip. And I go, okay, I'm not going to say you're wrong. However, Neuralink, CureVac, should I keep going? Our mRNA to turn people into butterflies, like should I keep going? I mean, electric vehicles suck. They make no sense. I get it. Tesla's cool, but like
He runs the communication satellites for Ukraine, for God's sake, for their military operations. Really?
his wife or girlfriend is she's a strange one.
Well, he showed up at the Halloween party this past year, 2023 Halloween party in a Satanist outfit.
Correct.
Okay.
What's the problem, Sarah?
He does some good stuff. I don't know. I had some guy on that actually had a theory on some of this that kind of made sense. He was saying that there's the Luciferians who are like animals, and then there's he said there was, what did he call them? There was two groups, the lower group and then the I don't know if the Luciferian was a lower group or the other one was a lower group, but there's two groups. And he said one of the groups, maybe it was the Luciferians that were in the middle, and they're more narcissistic, but they believe in more of the free speech and they're better. And then the lower group, which is our central bankers and the people who have been running the world for a while, are so animalistic and evil. Like
reptilian mind.
Is that what he called it? The reptilian and the Luciferian? He labeled it. I got to go look back at it. And it's coming out of the Kali Yuga, right?
Yeah.
And that Kali Yuga, that cycle stuff makes sense to me. That we are, and we are, and like Jesus came right at the lowest level of the Kali Yuga to help us. The very lowest point. Well, but it's not something you read. I just noticed it because I looked at, maybe it's probably something you can read, but I came to that conclusion based on the date that Jesus supposedly was here, and the middle at the lowest point of our cycle was when
where
Jesus
we
came.
Needed some enlightenment and some spirituality.
Yeah, and and I have a lot of people around me who have gone through becoming a reverend or gone through the be ministers. Not all of them have stayed with it. They've went through it to learn, became it, and then got out and looked at things different. But one of them, who is a ordained minister and no longer does it, I was talking to him, and he's like, yeah, throughout history, there's been certain points in history where really great, deep thinkers come to help humanity. That was Buddha or Jesus or other people. And that's when I looked at the cycle, and Jesus came right at the bottom. And so I believe that there's something to that, and that we're exiting out of it. And what I'm referencing, I wish I would remember some of these names, but what he was referencing is that the people, there's the deep state, and there's two characters. One
That is correct. There's a light world order and a dark world order.
Yeah, but the light and the dark, from what I understand from but he had a different paradigm, because I had Jessie Zaboter on in the days and everything else, where she's saying that they've already decided that the light order is going to take us into the rest of it, and the dark got us so far. And she said the light is actually worse than the dark, in her opinion. It's kind of like the Pharisees in the Bible, where they're just so about conformity and whatever. It's almost pure evil, but they do it as if it's from a light perspective, whereas the dark is more open and in your face. She just says the light is more evil than the dark, and which is interesting. Evil. That was her perspective.
The dark is pretty rough.
That's right. Yeah, well, soak that in. Yeah. But he had a different perspective. He was saying it wasn't a Satanist kind of religion thing. It was more just like where we are in the cycles of humanity, and coming out of this Kali Yuga thing, that there are, because that's just what he studies, and that there are this lower group that is just, they're kind of like when you're beaten and you're, the MK Ultra, and you almost become animalistic because you're just so, and that's what these guys are. They can't think straight, but they're just so barbaric, and they've been running our world. But the Luciferians, I think it's what they called this middle group, the Luciferians, kind of the founders of our country. They believe in free speech. They believe in free enterprise. They believe in all this stuff. They're still narcissistic and care about power, and
the founders of our nation align with that, by the way.
Yeah, they're still narcissistic, power hungry, but they care about free speech, freedom of religion, all these things that are good for society. And those are the two groups that are fighting each other. And the group that he calls them the Luciferian. I wish I would. I think that's what. Yeah, it's a let's just say they're the Luciferians.
Have you heard, I'm sure you've heard of duality and Hermeticism, right?
Yes.
Okay, that ties into kind of what you're talking about a little bit, and it's interesting because Trump put out his sneaker thing, right? So Trump has Apollo all over Trump Tower, right? Apollo, the sun god. I think it's the sun god. I could be wrong on that. I don't do Greek mythology necessarily. But also the shoe that he came out with has a wing on it. It's a wing of Hermes.
Yep.
So it ties into what you're saying, but continue on. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to give you that
that's
data.
Good. There's a lot of occult symbology with Trump that people point to that worries people. But it's kind of like this. They're both bad guys. They're both not evolved consciously, but they're better. It's like there's two deep staters, and they're better because they at least recognize contracts. They have respect for business. They have respect for free speech. They're power hungry narcissists, but they are better. That makes sense. And those are the two factions fighting each other. That's his belief. It's another theory over the satanic religious beliefs, which they're all grouping together to totally destroy all humanity and take it over based on, coming back of Satan and all that. So it's another perspective. I thought that was interesting because it's a little healthier perspective, I think, because it's not we're all going to die.
It's a little healthier. I like that. Are you one of those people that's always glass half full? Are you a glass half full personality?
I try to.
I can tell.
I don't want to. Do you? It's not fun to be in this. We're always going to doom and gloom. I like to think that and also when we experience life, there's so many positives in life that I can't believe that it's all this negative. All this pedophilia, all this bad stuff. It's like, all this bad stuff exists, but there's so much glorious good stuff, right? And so I refuse to believe that it's just this hopeless situation because I just don't think it is.
No,
I don't know. How about you?
You want my real opinion on this?
Well, yeah, it's as good as any.
I think that there's a crazy and wild galactic game going on. Whether that's the spiritual aspect or it's just the physical, I don't know. I know there's a spiritual aspect of war and there's also physical. I believe there are definitely things here that are not from planet Earth, that whether they're underground or above ground, there's wars going on, maybe in the physical realm as well as the spiritual realm, but there's wars. I believe this planet was taken over a long time ago, and that's biblical. I don't mean that from a crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy. I believe the Bible literally tells us all this, but I don't think people read it correctly, I guess you could say. And that's not disrespecting Christians. I think going to Bible study on Sunday and reading is not reading the Bible. When you read it, you can read this is like, we're governed by dark principalities. That means something, right? The serpent and dragon means something, but what is that? You have to read into it, and it's a conscious thing, right? That's why when you read it over and over again, it tells you something different every time. Not because it changed, you changed, right? I believe the only way to win this thing is consciousness rising. And when I say conscious, that's not a religious term. We individually have to win our own personal wars, but as we win our own personal wars, we're winning the spiritual war of planet Earth. And I truly believe our job over time is to free this planet from the garbage that's here. Because other than that, why the hell are we on this godforsaken? And not to say,
why are we in this like computer game?
I truly actually believe in this. I believe in a simulation. We're in a simulated something, whether that's a trance put over us or it's a physical AI thing or whatever it may be. And I do believe we win. I don't think we don't win, but I think we have to win this planet from a physical and a spiritual standpoint. And I think there's a lot of craziness that goes involved with that. But yeah, I believe we have to win ourselves first.
I think you're right. You have to win yourself first. Did you see my show on the dyes that allow you to see energies?
No, I didn't see that one. Did I miss that one?
Yeah, I've
When did
covered
you
it
play
in a
that one?
couple things. It was just last week, and it's about this dye that allows you to. There was a doctor, Valerie Hunt, at UCLA that was studying frequencies, and what was the love is the most powerful frequency she was able to measure.
Okay.
But there's this dye that, and I got some pushback that the dye was available, and then I looked and I'm like, because it's supposedly this dye is above top secret and was pulled off
Oh,
the
the
market.
top secret blue dye.
Yeah, and then I had some pushback saying, Sarah, that's not, this blue dye is available. And then I had a chemist look at it and said, no, that's a different compound.
It's
And
not
then he
methylene
sent me
blue,
that.
is it? Is that what they're talking
Yeah,
about?
no.
Okay.
It's a diacetyl.
Oh, diet. Okay.
Yeah, I have the name sitting there, diacetin. And but there's diacetin A and diacetin CAS, and the diacetin A is available for purchase. The diacetin CAS is not.
Okay.
But then I had some pushback saying it's not the blue dye, it's the red dye that allows you to see energy. So I don't know. There's dyes that allow you to see energies, right? And my understanding, or I've been told by scientists, is this blue dye, but it could be a red dye. I'm not. There's dyes, anyways. And I had someone sent me a paper analysis, and I'm going to publish that is on this stuff as well. That there's dyes, but these dyes. From scientists that I've talked to, and the reason they pulled it off the market, the narrative is they pulled it off the market because it'll freak people out because you can see these entities. The entities
Really?
yes, and you can see they're all around us, and you can see the entities around us, and it allows you to see it. It's
What?
almost like a computer.
Your show today. Your show is just skyrocketed to the top of my watching list today.
That's it. Yeah.
I'll be watching this today now that I know about this.
Yeah, and there's another one I did pre-COVID that has this mom sitting there with her child in front of us with this aura around her, and that's the aura of love. And that was from the original research that was from this Dr. Valerie Hunt at UCLA. And that one I did about 5 years ago, but I've revisiting this stuff because of everything that's going on. And the story that was in that interview was
this is
the
a
military.
Real B&H birthday.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
This says psychic powers in the Dysanian conspiracy. That's it's not your show, but it proves out what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so basically in the show we talk about how in the military was testing these goggles with this dye in between it. And they gave it to some pilots, and the pilots started seeing these beings and started shooting at them. And the people are like, what the heck are you shooting at? And they're like, well, these things that are here. And they're not there. And then they went and they put the goggles on themselves. This is the story supposedly that happened. They put the goggles on themselves, and they saw them too. They're like, holy crap. And that's what they were shooting at, but they're not there. We can't visibly see it, right?
Ooh.
And so they took it off the market. They said it's too dangerous. People can't, and it'd freak people out. And so they supposedly took these things off the market. That's the story. But that is what we need to see. Is this what we're fighting? Is all these entities that we could see if we had a bigger vision spectrum, right? Because we can only see a little fraction. We can't see very much. We're essentially blind.
That's some David Icke stuff right there. We can only see a narrow frequency, right?
We can only see a narrow. Yeah, well, it's not that he's just saying what a lot of scientists have been saying for decades. And I put the chart. So on my Substack, I put the chart, the scientific chart showing the whole frequency spectrum and how little we can see of that frequency spectrum. It's just science. It's nothing magical. It's not conspiracy theory. And then supposedly these dyes, which I gave an example from the research from UCLA showing that we can see these auras. And then we talked about what happened in the military. And then there's a paper I want to share with my audience too, and I can send it to you about the dyes. So what is this? This is not quack out stuff. This is real research and real science.
This is great stuff.
And yeah, well, and it ties to, you got it there. Yeah, it ties to, do I have the picture of the woman too? I think I might have with the love. There it is. See?
There you go. Yep.
Yeah. And it ties to what the Bible's talking about. It ties to what these spiritual and this warfare that we're talking about. And wouldn't it be good if we could at least see what the heck that we're fighting?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
it's like,
do you remember? Oh my gosh, this is back like the 2020 days, and I'm gonna get the names totally wrong, but I believe General Milley at the time, maybe Pence. There was another, I think, general, but I had to go back and research. It's been so long. And they mentioned at one of the graduation ceremonies, Milley mentioned, you can find it on YouTube, I think still, battling the little green guys underground.
he did?
Yeah. In front of it was almost like a graduating class of maybe Army or Marines. I might be getting, I know the generalities of this. I don't know all the details. But also battling this war that's not of here, but still having to physically battle it. I don't know.
Wow. I'd like to see that clip. That's very
If
interesting.
I find it, I'll send it over to you. If it's still out there. It was out there, though. I remember seeing it many times over.
When Donald Trump first took office, a day after he did, I remember this, I'll never forget it. He was like ghostly white, almost scared for like a couple days. And then he bounced back and became himself again.
Really?
He was told something. Yes, he was told something that scared the hell out of him. And I could see it in his face. I could see it in his whole demeanor, the way he was. There was something he was told that shook him to his core. I don't know what it was, but there was something. And I will never forget that. Kind of like it was the same. Remember when Bush, after 9/11, and he went on television and he spoke about it, and you could tell he was scared.
Yep.
His face was it was really obvious. For those of us who can, kind of really sense what someone's feeling, he was just terrified. His face was long and he was scared. That's what Donald Trump looked like.
Well, I don't know if this is it. This one says, General Milley, hybrid army and little green men. I don't know if I'm going to play this. It's a minute long. I'm going to see if this is it. It may not be, but let's see.
If the world of 1916 was complex, or the world of 1945 was complex, the world of 2016 is intensely complex. And I can tell you that from personal experience, and I know there's many others who can tell you that as well. And you will graduate and be in that world, and you're going to be leading the soldiers and the sailors, the airmen and the Marines in that world. You'll be dealing with terrorists. You'll be dealing with hybrid armies. You'll be dealing with little green men. You're going to be dealing with tribes. You'll be dealing with national leaders and local leaders. You'll be dealing with politics and economics, and you'll be dealing with direct fire and indirect fire. And you're going to be dealing with it all. And it's all going to be dealt with simultaneously. And for that, you're going to have to be ready.
So he just threw in the little green men thing. What the heck is that?
And that's not. I don't think that's the same video I saw before. That looks a little different. I wonder if he said it more than once.
Yeah, interesting. And so did he say more in the video that you heard?
No, no, because both of them were small clips. I'd have to go find if there's like an original raw video of what it is. But I mean, how do you just slide one, hybrid armies? What does that mean? And two, how do you just slide little green men in?
Well, in the clip that you saw, was it little green men underground? Was there another sentence there, or was it just?
I thought that I heard something underground wars, but again, it's been a few years, so I don't know if I heard that correctly. But I definitely heard little green men, so that's the second or third time I've heard it with that video. I'll go researching again if I can find that original clip.
This is underground. Now the hybrid soldiers are for sure. I mean, they're already working on it. They've been working on that for decades. With the Jose Delgado, who is the godfather of mind control, he was talking about it back then, that soldiers won't control their own mind. They'll be controlled remotely like robots, and
Totally.
they will be hybrid soldiers for whatever it is that we need them for.
100.
They don't think that they're people. They're assets to be used. I mean, they send them out to die. They're not going to have a problem with, putting chips in them and doing whatever they need to do.
Just go Google, just go YouTube DARPA and the neuroscientists and find their seminar. They openly talk about wiring up the brain, and they openly talk about not needing pilots in the future, not needing, like, they could, if Neuralink can make you move a mouse with your mind, then we don't need people for war anymore. Not that I want war. You can just control the damn planes and everything else with your mind. What's the point?
They haven't needed people really for war for a while. Correct. I remember doing an interview with Bruce Gagnon, who is really one of the foremost people in this. He's the one that did the map of the bioweapons in Ukraine. He is not liked by the military-industrial complex, but he has exposed a lot. And he said that back then. He's like, they don't need, all this stuff can be controlled by satellites from above. They do not need the people to fight this war on the ground. They do that for other reasons. The fact that they're using all these people who are dying left and right is probably more of a depopulation, cleansing the area, getting rid of the people. It's a brutal way to do it, but it works. They've talked about it for centuries on how it's a effective method to depopulate. War. It's one of the most effective methods.
And they make a crap load of money out while doing it.
And they make a lot of money. Yeah, it's very sad. Well, the Ukraine war, did you see the thing that RFK put out? I thought it was absolutely excellent about what the Ukraine war. I mean, I've been covering Ukraine for years. And so I knew that it was just a cesspool, because when the Soviet Union fell, it had the highest GDP in Europe. It was a very prosperous era because it was the center of the military industrial complex for the Soviet Union, right? It wasn't just one of the satellite countries coming off. It was the center of their military industrial complex. And so when the Soviet Union fell, the West rushed in, and they just, probably with the help of the Russian oligarchs, they just raped and pillaged that place, and it went from the highest GDP to the lowest GDP in Europe. And then in 2014, they did their coup. It was a coup. They took over the government. It was Russian-controlled, more Russian-backed people who were running Ukraine. And then they did a coup in 2014, and it became a Western-backed leadership in Ukraine. They stole the entire Ukrainian treasury. I don't know. It was probably when they saw the West coming in, that might have been a Russian-backed oligarchs doing it, based on, because I had the whistleblower from a Latvia bank that believed that their entire Ukrainian treasury was laundered through the banking system that he was working for. But regardless, that started in 2014. But they were fighting all these Ukrainian men. Now they're losing the average death now is in the 40s. That means that they've wiped out an entire generation of young men, 20 and 30-year-old young men. Almost an entire generation are gone, right? They have 10%. I don't know how many people are left, but a lot are dead. They're having pregnant women fight on the front line. I mean, it's just crazy who's fighting on the front. Older men. Yeah, it's all older men and whoever they can get to fight right now, because the younger men have all been killed. Okay, it's absolutely terrible. 500,000, 500,000. It's horrible. Okay, but so in this process, you have Mitch McConnell going, don't worry about it, us giving all this money, it's not going to Ukraine, it's going to our weapons contractors. We're enriching our people. Okay, well, that's money laundering. What? Why is that not? Okay, fine, it's going to the military, it's going to our weapon. And then we had other politicians saying, don't worry about the money, this is a loan, as if they're going to pay it back. But it's a loan, and there's loan conditions in order for them to get this money. Okay, well, what are the loan conditions? Well, the loan conditions are for them to sell government assets. They're selling their agricultural land in mass. The multinational corporations, Cargill and Monsanto, have already purchased 30% of their agricultural land. Yes, and they need to sell only 30%, so there's another 70% to sell. Supposedly that's us getting stuff back, but it's going to these multinational corporations. And they've been fighting Russia to preserve their ownership of their land. And all that's happening is they're selling it to these Western multinational corporations, and they're losing it anyways, while all their men are dying. what's worse, Russia coming in and just taking it, and the people wanting to be, I don't know, a lot of big groups want to be part of Russia, and then the other ones don't. That's why they're fighting and dying. But what's worse, Russia taking it, or our multinational corporations taking it in the guise of us helping them protect them? I don't know.
So I'm ignorant in this area of the Ukraine, other than just basic knowledge because I don't study it every day. So, other than Khazarian mafia type stuff, which obviously we know about, why, Sarah? Why is the Ukraine land so? I mean, I know grains, but I mean, are they?
Well, it's the
what are they?
breadbasket
What are they
of-
so resource rich in?
Well, it's the breadbasket of Europe. First of all, it's the most resource intensive. It's where most of the food and a lot of the resources come out of. They have great land. It's a big area and
Okay.
great land. It's kind of like the Midwest of the United States.
Okay.
You know, it's the breadbasket of the United States. That's the breadbasket of Europe. It's when they take that over, they're going to be controlling a huge portion of the resources, the food, the minerals, everything out of Europe. I mean, obviously there's other areas in Europe that are good too, but they consider that the breadbasket, kind of like the Midwest is. It's that same concept. So but it's also strategically placed because it's in between the West and the East, and they saw it as a buffer zone for NATO. And partly when the Soviet Union fell, it was considered the buffer zone to keep the peace by having the West and the East being separated by this buffer zone. And when they they had 200,000 NATO troops on the border of Russia, which the mainstream media did not talk about. So before Russia attacked, there was 200,000 troops on the border already, NATO troops, Ukrainian troops. And so they were poking the bear as much as they possibly could. It was not good. And that's what the media is not telling you.
And now they're decimated, or their military is decimated. I mean, they don't have, and I'm not doing a Putin versus Ukraine thing at all, because I tend to think I lean more towards the Putin world, but I know the whole thing's still a matrix. But if they've just been decimated, their military, you just said the young men have all been decimated, and they're going and getting random. How does this end? Like, what? You just destroyed an entire population of. Is that where big government lives from now on, and big corporations?
Well, they had multiple opportunities to negotiate, right? We had, General Valley and a group of generals were doing a summit back in this last summer trying to get negotiations to happen. And they had other countries that were brokering deals. They had even something signed it was our governments, us and some other Western governments, that rejected it and would not allow the negotiation. Why? And you got to look at the why of what happens afterwards with all this land being taken over, and we're essentially taking over the resources of this country, and they no longer will have possession of it. That's what the action is. It's kind of like Gaza. I look at that, and Israel. Oh, well, they're just trying to protect themselves. Okay, well, mark my words, if there is a canal that's put in there and all the new settlements and all the oil that they're going to, if that's what they end up doing and all those people are gone, this whole thing was for that. It wasn't
That's
for
what
all
it
the
looks like
BS
it was
that
for.
they're talking about.
I watched some of those videos. It makes you nauseous when you find out what they're really doing over there.
Yeah, and it's the same with Ukraine. All this stuff, what ends up being the end results, and are they planning it from the beginning? Now, if it happens as an end result, like and people come in and that's the dust settles, and then you could argue, well, people took advantage of the situation afterwards. But when it happens from the beginning, and those are the plans and the documents beforehand, then you know that this is what the whole thing was about. It's pretty obvious, because everything is geared in that direction. Gaza is the most obvious I've ever seen. I mean, I don't know if it can get more obvious than Gaza.
It's insane.
It's you almost have to laugh even, but you don't want to because it's so bad. I mean, you don't know. It's when things are this bad. I know we would laugh once in a while off of something that with pedophilia or something, because it's so bad. You have this like little emotional. What is it? It's your reaction. This nervous laughter. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not, it's not funny. It's just your reaction is
What else do you
laughter.
do, right? Yeah, you have this little reaction because it's so offensive and so you don't even want to look at it. You just all you can do is like get your defensive laugh reaction.
That's what it is. It's your defensive laugh reaction because it's so bad you don't know what else to do.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that have that too. I've talked to people and I'm like, why are you chuckling? It's
I know.
But then we do it too because how else are you supposed to look at it, you know?
Well, I've had a couple people get mad at me over the years because I'd laugh at a point where it was so not appropriate to laugh. And I'd be like, I am so sorry. I don't mean that this is not funny. It's just that's my nervous reaction to it. And I remember I had, we were talking about a Hollywood presentation that who was it who's the meathead from
Rob Reiner.
Yeah, he's a Hollywood director, and he was talking about pedophilia and cracking these jokes, and it was really distasteful, and it was obvious that he was involved in all that stuff. And Liz Crokin was telling the story on my show, and I'm like, well, how did the audience react? And she goes, it was that nervous laughter thing where people don't know how to react and they kind of laugh, and it kind of reminds me of that. It's just, when you hear something so traumatizing, it's, I don't know.
It's true.
It's healthy. It's kind of healthy in some ways.
Yeah. Well, before I let you go, my question is to you, Sarah. What hopeful things do you see coming? Because I know you are a very, very fun person to listen to, and you always keep it very light and happy. So what are the good things you see coming?
Okay, well, here's the deal. I think we're going to still suffer through a lot of negative, but where the positives are is that we're seeing a shift in people's consciousness.
Yes.
Their awareness. I almost like awareness, almost better than conscious, so people can relate to it. It's not as esoteric. They're just more aware of what's around them. They're more astute, and they're more aware of common law. They're more aware of the psychological operations that are going on. They're more aware that the wars are just not appropriate, that we need to evolve as a species and stop this. They're more aware of what's pro-human, right? And there's a mass awakening. And it's not this left-right paradigm thing that people, although they're getting sucked back into some of that, overall, more and more people are just aware of things. Common law, they're more aware of that.
Yeah.
So that's a really positive. When I started talking about it 10 years ago, I've done many shows on it was so out there and so foreign to most people. Now most people know about common law. Pedophilia was horrifying. There was a big thing in the 80s where people were talking about pedophilia and Satanism and stuff. And that whole resurgence, but the understanding at a much deeper, broader level that shows that we're making huge progress. Yeah, we also are going to be dealing with, they have a lot of things up their sleeves, right? And they're more brazen than ever. And I think they're more brazen than ever because we are more aware, right? Are they more brazen or are we more aware? I think it's both. Right?
I would say both to be safe, but you're definitely right. We're more aware, which makes it look more brazen. They've been doing this the whole time. It just hasn't been shown.
It wasn't as obvious to us. They didn't do stuff like the Gaza thing, but World War II should have been pretty obvious to people too, right? I mean, there's been times in history where things were pretty obvious. I mean, back in the day, evil has been around for a long time. And when we came and the United States was settled, there was 60 million people here, and they decimated them down to 80 or 600,000 or 800,000. 60 million down to 800,000 today. That's a mass genocide. So there has been, in China, when they took over, communism took over, when Bolsheviks took over Russia, there's been mass genocides, horrific stuff throughout history. So it's not new to humanity. It's just that's why I like the Kalaluga, the cycles that we're in. It's not new to humanity, but what's new to humanity is that we're waking up and we're saying enough is enough, and this is barbaric, and we're beyond that. And that's what I think is scaring them, because like we said earlier in the show, where it was the people, they're almost like animalistic. They're just so barbaric and MK Ultra torture when they're younger. I don't know, but they're so animalistic. And that's what people are raising above and saying, we want something better. And so that's why I see a lot of optimism, but we're going to be going through a lot of crap, as you know. I mean, they're
100%.
building up.
I know.
Yeah, we got to push back.
People all the time ask, when is this going to be over? Just let us know when it's over. I'm like, you haven't seen the hard part yet, technically.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think we're in for some more hard times ahead.
I would agree. This is Sarah Westall, everybody. She's one of my new best buddies because we think similarly. SarahWestall.com. Is that the best place to go in your Rumble channel? What are your best social medias?
Well, I've been trying to branch out to multiple because I've been, with YouTube being so bad, but Rumble's one of them. BitChute, Bastion is another great one.
Cool.
I'm now just joined Cloud Hub. I'm all over the place, but yeah.
Nice.
I like Bastion because, and BitChute's free too, but I like Bastion because it's free. I mean, I don't think they're going to get taken over, and they're built up on the blockchain, and it's a distributed network so that can't easily take them down. Yeah.
Bastion. Bastion, I'm assuming.
It's Bastion.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, my channel's growing pretty well there. I get some pretty good views there. I'm actually getting better views there than I am on Rumble. And
yeah, Rumble's special.
Something's up with Rumble. I know.
It is what it is. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for being here. Much appreciated, as always.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Really... I'll have you back. Yeah, I have you back for many reasons, but one of the main reasons is everyone is noticing you're super smart, and it's nice to have conversations with intelligent individuals who can actually think. And I know that kind of sounds mean, but it's not to you, but
I know.
Can actually have a conversation. You could have a conversation about political news going on, what we think is really happening, but you can also have a consciousness, spiritual, your vast array of topics.
It's fun having deep conversations on all sorts of the science. I like talking about science. I like the edge of science, the edge of change anywhere.
I love it. Yeah.
So thank you.
You're welcome. I will catch you. I'll catch you on offline after I finish the show. So have a great day, Sarah.
Thank you so much.
Take care. That is Sarah Westall. She is phenomenal, and we chat back and forth off air and do some cool stuff. And she's been phenomenal. And again, smart person. We like smart people. And Rumble just changed on me, which is really weird. That's odd. Yeah, she is fantastic. Okay, so here's the issue. I have giveaways. However, this show, due to my phone exploding before everything happened, not with Sarah, with other stuff going on, didn't go the way I was planning on going because of all the crazy network down, which is still happening, going on. So I actually have to go and kind of process all the stuff that's currently happening because I didn't have time to process it the 30 minutes or so before the show started, and definitely not during the show started. I have a bunch of websites that were sent to me. They also have ham radio stuff down, problems there, lots of things. So this is what I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna show you something. Let me get the first one. I'm going to punt to either tomorrow or Monday the giveaway because I want to do it a little bit more fun with it and not a day of chaos with the networks going down. And I know some people are literally can't even probably watch the show today because their cell phone maybe not working well. All right. I'm going to give away a couple startup kits. What do the startup kits have in them? So we'll do that. I'm going to do this tomorrow or I'll do it Monday. BCATP. KL support, biotoxin binder, An old school, this right here, I could probably sell this for triple the price. This is the liquid CT minerals. They don't make this anymore. This one right here is worth like tons. That's a startup kit. It's got a various array of, I got a couple of those. Okay, I have a couple of those. I'm going to give away some of the vitamin C and nano stuff. Okay. And then I have this. This is secret, special. Here are little bottles. Now, no one's ever seen this before. Well, a couple people. No one here has ever seen this before. This is it's called Ostanol. And it's professional, meaning you can't just find it. Bone and cartilage stimulating protein formula. This actually stimulates bone and cartilage protein growth. Five times stronger than regular formulas, if not more. So I'm going to play with that. We'll play with that as a giveaway. Any questions? We have a lot of people on today. Any questions regarding what the hell is going on right now? Because again, I have to go study some stuff because I was not able to keep track of everything going on all at one time. There's still problems out there, it looks like. It's not this is not just going away. I'll get more information too, as I'm sure. They're claiming this is a Chinese cyber attack. That's what they're claiming. They're claiming a Chinese cyber attack, which I have different information. My information is much different. My information is this is part of the nothing can stop what is coming war. I'm actually looking. I actually told you guys the text that I received and what it said. And this is part of Safecom Networks. All right, Safecom Networks. Someone asked, how do you qualify for the giveaway? You have to be here, and you're going to have to text during the show when I give you the opportunity. You have to text to our text line. Okay? Text line. That's where it's going to come from. That's all you'll have to do. Don't worry. It'll be super easy. It's just going to be during a live show. But you have to be live to do it. Okay? You have to be live to do it.